This is a myth we've talked about on this program many times. It's a myth, and it's time we start facing the reality of this, something we've gone into many, many, many times. We talked about the male friend myth. We've talked about the... You know what the male friend myth is, don't you? The guys want to be friends with chicks. Just friends. Generally, we don't. I've told you to be aware every time a woman refers to a man as my friend. This is my friend. All these guys are vultures. Some of them have already been where they don't belong. You know what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, we live with these stereotypes. The stereotype that men are dogs and women are monogamous, faithful, sitting home, waiting for us to come home, would never do anything bad. And that's why so many of you get hurt so badly, because you believe this myth. And our guest in this hour, Michelle Langley, has written a book. It's called Women's Infidelity, Living in Limbo, What Women Really Mean When They Say, I'm Not Happy. And we welcome Michelle to the program. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Now, I see here, and we've seen these numbers bouncing around depending on what story you read or what statistics you read. Women now initiating 70 to 75% of all divorces?
Right. Basically, that's been going on for a long time, too. Every study that's ever researched it has found that women are overwhelmingly the initiators of divorce.
Well, we've also seen statistics that say that women are much less happy in their marriages than men report being.
Yes, absolutely. I've definitely found that to be true. But I think that women look for something different in marriage than men do. I mean, women are taught that marriage is something that they want to do. Men are taught that marriage is something that they want to postpone. So women have nowhere to go but down. And men go up because they say, well, this didn't suck as bad as I thought. So that's typically why women are less happy in their marriages, is because they thought it was going to be something it wasn't.
Yeah, well, I imagine just like anything else in life that you've decided you wanted from early on, nothing can live up to the hype, can it?
Excuse me?
Nothing can live up to the hype, can it?
Well, this is basically this thing with marriage. This is something that's taught to girls at a young age, that they want to get married to control their sexuality. And since men don't want to marry girls that have been with a lot of partners, girls, they want to get married because they think, oh, well, that's what I want. I want commitment because they've been taught that they want commitment. And unfortunately, today, since women don't have to be married, they can support themselves, they feel about getting commitment after they've garnered that from a male. They feel the same way a male does after he has sex for the first time with a female.
Mm-hmm.
So a woman can stay very excited right up to the wedding day. And that's when the high starts wearing off, because now she's accomplished the goal.
Right. And there are many symptoms of that.
Absolutely.
Some of the ones we talk about are the women who chop off all their hair, they chunk up, they suddenly lose enthusiasm for a bunch of different things. And
boredom, yeah.
They appear bored.
Amount of boredom, but that's only because they've channeled all of their energy into achieving this goal. So it isn't a selfless thing that women are doing. They think they're getting a big payoff out of it. I'm going to do all of these things, forego my feelings in order to get this male who's ever elusive to commit to me.
Wow.
Because women believe that men don't want to commit.
And is that not true?
I have not found that to be true, no. I mean, the reason that we have the belief, we have to think about why we have the beliefs that we have. One, we have, for thousands of years, lived under a patriarchy society. Men came up with marriage. Women didn't. It was very important for society to believe that women were monogamous, because prior to DNA testing, there was no way for men to know if offspring produced was theirs.
Well, we still have remnants of that because, for example, if there's an unsolved murder and somebody's on death row, and we've seen this on 60 Minutes countless times, the DNA evidence comes in 20, 30, 40 years later.
Yeah,
people are sprung. But yet, in most states, within a year or two, if you do not prove you're not the father, tag, you're it.
Yeah, I really have, I think that is so unfortunate. I really do. And I think, I'm not sure, so don't quote me on this, but I think it's approximately $300 to get a DNA test. I think every man should do it. Yeah. I think it should be a given.
I think they should be mandatory. First of all,
you know what? I agree with you.
Because first of all, I think that the number of unwanted pregnancies and illegitimate births would go down dramatically if people didn't have the opportunity to lie. You know what that's like. If a man said, you know what, I want to get a DNA test, most women would go, I can't believe you would do that. You don't trust me. If it was mandatory, no one would try to get away with that stuff anymore.
Absolutely. And you see, the thing is that for, my book, I pretty much talk about both sides of the story. I mean, women don't get off the hook and men don't get off the hook. I just explain the problem that we're seeing and why it's happening. But I agree with you. Right now, there's been so much male bashing and stuff going on, so we're kind of in this, and like I heard you say something, men are dogs. Women are pretty much taught that men are dogs. And so, there is no compassion for men from women at all, from what I'm seeing. Because they've been conditioned to think that men aren't good people. And unfortunately, they've been conditioned to believe that they are just naturally good people. And it isn't true.
Yeah, are women any more monogamous than men?
Well, the difference between, the word monogamy actually means a form of marriage. So monogamy has nothing to do with fidelity. Males and females are both inclined to couple up, and they are both inclined to seek sexual partners on the side. Males like more variety than females, and this is where we get into a problem, and I write about this in my book. The problem comes in with the word more. That doesn't mean women don't like variety. If you want to sleep with 10 and we want to sleep with 5, who's monogamous? That's the question. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So, we need to get rid of this myth that women are naturally monogamous so they can take responsibility for their sex drive.
I do think that men seek partners on the side for different reasons than women in most cases.
Well, I think and this is just from what I found, and this may be something very much that's new in relationships now, but I found that it's the exact opposite reasons that we've thought about affairs for women. Women actually seek out affairs because they want to have sex. They don't want to have sex in their marriages. And men seek out affairs because they want to feel some type of love, affection, and that's how, there's chemicals that are released when we have an orgasm that create pretty pleasant feelings and bonding and attachment, and a lot of marriages don't have any sex going on at all. So there isn't very much bonding in the marriage. So, I think that it's a myth that men have affairs just for the sex. I think that they feel so much resentment from their wives. Their wives are angry. They don't know why their wives are angry. They can't make their wives happy. Nothing seems to work. And their wives don't want to have any sex with them.
Yeah.
So, it's just they step outside of the marriage.
I ask guys, and I say this, everybody who listens to this show knows that I've been married and divorced 4 times. And I say now, after that experience, I can't speak for women, but there's really very little in it for guys to get married.
Well, the thing is there's very little in it for women either.
You probably are right.
Here's the only.
But women are the ones who keep trying to turn the screws to get us to get married.
Exactly. And the biggest problem we have is women want to get married. They just don't like being married. And that's a big problem. So we need to quit teaching them, A, that they're naturally monogamous, and we need to quit shaming them about sex. We make girls feel as though they lose value with each sexual partner that they have. So they're naturally inclined to want to hold on to a sexual partner because it means a loss of value.
Well, but they do lose value if what they want is to get married. Because a guy will marry a woman who's had 6 partners, but a woman who's had 60 or 600, the value does go down in terms of marriage. By the way, as far as having sex with somebody who's had 600 partners, guys have no problem with that, contrary to popular belief. But what they have a problem with is getting married to somebody with 100,000 miles on the odometer.
Well, I think in my book, that's exactly what I call it. After 10 partners, you roll over the odometer. But all you're doing is you're teaching girls to lie and to feel shame and to get into their marriages and not know anything about their sexuality and screw around. So these females that men think are good girls, you know, that if you've had one partner, if you've had 100, it doesn't increase your chances that you're going to be more faithful in the marriage. It doesn't have any. The one that's had 100 at least knows a little bit about her sex life.
Yeah.
You know, she knows that she likes sex.
That's true.
And that she's inclined to like it with different partners. And, you know, the bottom line is chemically, women start becoming more like men sexually as they age, and men start becoming more like women sexually as they age. So marriage is harder for women because we start heading into our prime.
But we also give women financial incentives to get married.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one thing that's very unfair. I think that there should be automatic joint custody of children in every state, and I think you'd see a big elimination of problems with divorce. Big, because that's something that if you give somebody something that they can use against somebody else, they're going to use it. And when you come down to divorce, men do often come out with the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not right. Men are entitled to their homes and their kids, just like women are. So I think that's something we definitely need to make some changes because I don't think it's fair.
We'll take a break. We'll come back with author Michelle Langley. Her book is called Women's Infidelity. Your telephone calls are coming up. 1-800-5800-TOM. I just want to announce to all the women out there that there's the image of Jesus on my penis, and I'll be standing out of the parking lot after the show. If you want to come down here and get a look, I'm going to be unzipping my fly, and then I expect you all to get on your knees and pray.
Better watch it, Tom. You're going to have a big old lineup out there tonight.
I know. The Tom Leykis Show. At 1-800-5800-TOM. It's our telephone number with author Michelle Langley. Her book is called Women's Infidelity. Let's go to your calls at 1-800-5800-TOM. This is Marie on the Tom Leykis Show.
Hi.
Hi.
She's brilliant. She's exactly right. It's true. Women think that there's a lot in marriage for them because that's what they're brought up to think. But I agree with you, Tom. Your perspective is that marriage isn't great for men. I don't think it's great for women either.
Well, that may be true. And as I said to Michelle, the difference is it's women who are pounding us over the head to get married. And I believe the primary reason they pound us over the head is not only because they've been raised to believe it's the right thing to do, it's because they have tremendous economic incentives, including a very unfair system of divorce in this country, in order to get married. There's a big booty for them if only they can get some guy to sign the contract.
Do you believe that women go into marriage with their ultimate goal as a divorce settlement? I think women go into marriage because they have a romantic view.
I'm not saying it's their ultimate goal. I'm saying that it is an incredible incentive. I do believe that what Michelle says is right. The primary reason is because women are raised to believe it's the right thing to do. But there's no economic disincentive. On the contrary, there's a tremendous grand prize for getting a man to sign that contract.
Well, the thing is if the marriage starts to go bad, there is nothing for a woman to lose by getting divorced often. So it's really not that to get him to marry her is an incentive for money for women. It's just that getting out of the marriage, it's no biggie. You know,
but that's not true. She can lose her standard of living. She can lose her house. If a woman like myself, I make more money than my husband. We're both professionals. There was no financial incentive.
But Marie, as the 72 cents on the dollar crowd will tell you, there's very few women who make more money than their husbands, and very few women who want to be married to guys who make less than they do.
But if they are married to somebody that makes all the money, the financial disincentive for getting divorced is that they can lose their quality of life.
Oh, but those are the exceptions to the rule.
Well, the thing is that's what the majority of men deal with. That, you know, so there's less incentive for them. So I know that your situation is the opposite, but so you can relate from the man's perspective. You would be more willing to stay in this marriage that you aren't possibly as happy with because of what you would lose.
Exactly.
So, but a lot of women, on the contrary, they're like, hey, you know, they chuck it because I'm not going to lose that much. I'm going to get to keep my house. I'm going to get money from my husband. So you see what I mean? We're creating an unbalanced system is what we're doing.
And I agree with you. I just want to tell you, I wanted to call because I never hear this perspective on marriage, and it's something my friends and I talk about all the time, and that's that women have a view of it as it's going to be, it's sort of like the end of the story. A woman goes up and goes to school and gets engaged and has a beautiful wedding and wears a white dress, And what happens after that, nobody cares. And It's a nightmare. Being married for a woman who's sexual at all and who has half a brain at all is monotony. And, I mean, monogamy and monotony, very close words. And
by the way, I might add, I think that's the same story with having babies.
Yes.
I think, remember that survey by Ann Landers of her readers years ago? 70% of the people who wrote in said if they could do it over again, they would not have kids.
Well, I have one, and I can tell you this, I love my son more than anything in the world,
which
but
everybody
I would never
says.
have another one.
Yeah. And by the way, you might not have had him either.
What do you mean?
I mean,
if I could go back?
Yeah.
No, I absolutely would have had him, but I think that more than one can shackle a woman or man to a lifestyle that maybe they didn't understand was coming.
So let's review. You have had affairs in your marriage, and you're staying in it because of the financial situation if you get divorced.
The main reason I stay in my marriage is because my son is the center of my life, and my husband is an incredibly involved father, and it breaks my heart to think about taking my son away from my husband 50% of the time, and it breaks my heart thinking about my son being away from me 50% of the time, because the only situation that we would both consider is a totally shared custody situation. We're both great parents. We both love our kid. So what do you do when you love your kid and you love your family, but you want to be with other people?
So what do you want to do? Have an open relationship?
Yes.
And have you discussed it with your husband?
Yes.
And what does he think?
He doesn't agree with that approach to marriage.
So you've gone ahead and done it yourself?
I've had relationships.
Yeah, well, that's going ahead and having an open relationship for yourself, isn't it?
I mean, what we're seeing is that women are just doing the same things that men were afforded to do because they had all the resources. You know, so now cheating is basically a choice for women now. It wasn't a choice in the past. Well, actually, they did cheat, but they were much more likely to not even question leaving their marriages because most of them didn't work. So now today, when a woman cheats, she's much more likely to want to leave her marriage.
Or that she doesn't have the fear based on financial realities that a lot of...
Beyond that, getting divorced, a woman can frequently break the bank.
Well, Tom, you had mentioned something about, you said that, yes, females do lose value. We would not have this problem if we stopped teaching females that they lose value with sexual partners.
Well, actually,
women wouldn't enter marriage. They wouldn't feel like they wanted to get married. They would be enjoying life like the male does.
But again, I don't think that women lose value per se. They lose value in the marriage market.
Well, if we teach girls that they want to get married, so what are they going to do? They're going to not get. They're not going.
We need to stop teaching women that they need to get married.
That they want to get married.
That they need to take out a hammer and chisel on every guy they ever get involved with.
Well, we'll stop doing that when we stop shaming girls about sex. That's how it all begins. Don't have sex because he won't want to marry you, and you know you want to get married.
I do happen to, but that's my point. Why do women want to get married? I mean, if they knew how unhappy women are...
It starts when you're a child. The little girls are given the little baby prams to push around, and they're giving the little babies with little baby bottles, and the little babies pee.
But isn't that really the problem?
Well, plus you see in the movies, you don't see men. When a woman gets married in a movie, she's a maid and going to marry a millionaire. Of course she wants to get married. We don't see guys that happen. How does the guy benefit from marrying the maid?
But that's true in real life.
No, I mean, women are making a lot of money these days. There's a lot of professional women. You know, so really that's not the case. That's, you know, there's so many myths that we have out there.
But there are plenty of professional women who don't get ahead the way that men do, and that is because so many professional women really have it in the back of their mind that they're going to dial it down at some point, have a baby, take a sabbatical, work flex time, work from home, do something else, take a demotion, not get promoted, whereas guys know that we have to work and we are chained to a desk until we're dead.
We have stay-at-home dads now.
That's how it is.
I mean, that's how it is for many women also, and they don't. There are intelligent women out there like myself who never planned on ditching their career. I didn't go through 3 years of professional graduate school so that I could.
But do you think you are the norm? Do you think you are even close to the norm?
I can define the norm because I only live in my own life. I don't know.
Well, I understand that. But remember, we are broadcasting here. It's not just the three of us having a conversation. We're talking about millions of people here.
Well, I think that there are a good deal of women who are like you say, Tom, but the thing is that they're very bored with that life. So even though that may be in the back of their mind, that's what they're going to do, they find it pretty unfulfilling.
Right, and so
that's
really the message that needs to get out. Stop nagging men to get married because marriage is very unfulfilling. You'll be bored and you'll want out. And 70% of the marriages, the 70% of the divorce are initiated by women. That's how unhappy women are. So, ladies, stop asking us to marry you.
Absolutely.
Stop giving us ultimata to marry us.
Absolutely. Well, if you get an ultimatum and you're a male, if you don't want to get married, this is the biggest problem that males have today is they don't have a spine.
Oh, I agree with you. Oh, believe me, that's half of what we talk about here.
And that's exactly why women are treating men so badly. They can't believe how the lack of spine that men have. And the more that a man allows a woman to abuse him, she will do it. Just as women, when they allowed men to abuse them, men continued to do it. So men need to stand up, and if they don't want to get married, they got to have the balls to say, hey, all right, we'll move on. I'm gonna check out somebody else who's looking for a life like I want. But because of their fear of being alone, they become so dependent on a female that they succumb to the pressure.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that. No doubt about it at all. Michelle Langley is our guest. Her book is called Women's Infidelity. More of your telephone calls are coming up. Tom Leykis.
1-800-5800-TOM.
How does a woman know when a guy's looking for more than just tail? Like looking for more relationship.
Well,
what is a sign?
Sometimes he calls you before 11 p.m. That'll be one sign.
The Tom Leykis Show.
Tom Leykis Show at 1-800-5800-TOM. Thank you for tuning in. We are here with Michelle Langley. Her book is called Women's Infidelity. And if you want to purchase the book, you can go to the website. It's Women's Infidelity, no apostrophe. Women'sInfidelity.com. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Now, in your book, Michelle, you used a device where you had conversations with a friend of yours,
right.
A male friend,
right,
who had a variety of observations. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, the book, I had been researching this I've researched it now for about 10 years. And he was married to someone, and like you had mentioned at the beginning of the show, men are shocked by this. And even if men don't believe that women in general are naturally monogamous, they typically believe the woman they marry is. And so he knew I had been doing this research for some time, and he was a very happily married man. His wife was happily married, which a lot of women are prior to their affairs. And it's just like a man can cheat when he's in a marriage that's, he can consider himself very happily married. Same thing happens with women, but a lot of women go on a downward spiral because of the guilt. They think that they wouldn't do something like that if they really love somebody. They don't see it as a sexual impulse, which women start getting much more of for variety as they age. But anyway, so yeah, I explained this to him over the course of about a year and a half because he was quite shocked because of the view that he had of his wife. And women typically take a couple years to destroy their marriages, because a lot of times they're good marriages. And they know that their husbands will be shocked. So it's this slow unraveling of the relationship, and men are pretty caught off guard. So, yeah, explain what's happening in relationships, the way women feel about marriage, about how women feel sexually, but how we're taught to feel. Because I think that's really why we haven't identified this problem, is because it's a combination of many things that's causing what's happening to occur today in our relationships. It's not one thing. It's several things that are coming together at the right time. So, but what we really are seeing is women are just, we're getting glimpses of women's real sexuality, their real sex drive. The real desire to occasionally, as we say about men, they spread the seed. Well, women gather it.
Let's continue with your calls at 1-800-5800-TOM. This is Edwin on the Tom Leykis Show for our guest, Michelle Langley. Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Hey, I just wanted to call. I heard that you guys mentioned earlier paternity testing, and it was around $300. Well, I just recently got a paternity test with my son, and you can order them online for like $150. They mail it out to you. You swab your mouth, you swab the baby's mouth, send it in, and like a week later, you get your results.
And what was your result?
He is my son.
And it was worth it for the peace of mind, you're saying?
Just for the peace of mind, and for fathers out there who are paying child support and they're not even sure if the son is theirs, save you a lot of money on child support.
Well, they need to do it fast, because if you wait more than a year in most states and 2 in some states, you're done. It doesn't matter what the DNA says.
Exactly. So I was just putting it out there, $150. You can get it done now.
But that's good advice, Edwin. We recommended that every one of our male listeners who has a kid go out and get a DNA test. Every one of them.
And I recommend it, period, because this will stop the shaming of girls as well, because that's the only reason we shame girls. We're trying to get them not to have sex. That's how that originated. There's no need for it today. We have DNA testing. We don't need to shame little girls about sex anymore.
Yeah, of course, how many women want their men to get DNA tests on their kids?
Well, the bottom line is they can and they should, so that's just something that women will have to accept.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. 1-800-5800-TOM. Edwin, thank you for the call. This is Ryan on the Tom Leykis Show.
Hey, Tom, how you doing? First time, long time.
Thank you.
I actually have a question for, is it Michelle, is it?
Yes.
Okay, I used to work for a divorce attorney when I was considering going to law school, and soon I changed my mind because of that. So that was like the lowest bottom of the rung as far as law goes. And I have a question. Do you see, everybody's always complaining about, the whole women get everything in the divorce and vice versa, that whole situation and your book. But is anything ever going to change? Or are we just basically...
Nothing's going to change until men stand up. That's the problem, is that, the only reason that women have the rights that they have right now is they finally said, we're not going to put up with this stuff anymore. So now men need to say, you know what, we're not going to put up with this anymore. We deserve rights to our kids, and we don't need to have somebody decide it. It should be a given. We are their parents. So this woman doesn't get to just take the kids. It should be mandatory joint custody. It really should. We shouldn't leave either men or women with some type of unfairness that they can use against the other.
Well, that's there because most politicians are attorneys, and they get plenty of billable hours making people debate this stuff, argue over this stuff, use it against each other. The bottom line is that the attorneys who run this country will not make laws like this. They will not say, hey, mandatory DNA testing or mandatory joint custody. They'd be putting a crimp in their own business.
Yeah,
well,
you're right.
I agree, but it's like trying to turn the Queen Mary to get anything changed. And so in order
well, you're asking the people who benefit to change the law. I mean, most legislators are lawyers.
I completely agree.
They're not going to change the system. They've got it set up so we'll be arguing with each other for the rest of our born days.
And don't get me wrong.
And they charge us by the hour to do it.
Don't get me wrong, I would love for the whole thing to change. I mean, I'm a guy, for God's sake. And I would love to not have to worry about getting married and having my wife take half of what I made and my kids. I mean, the only reason why I would even want to get married is so that my kids would have, both parents. That's the only true benefit I see to getting married to begin with is, marriage is just a business as far as I'm concerned.
It's a business for a lot of people.
I think that the thing is, though, we need to let go of this image of what we think is the right way to live. If we let go of that image, because you don't live an image, you live a life. So, people need to start deciding, how would I really like to live? And a lot of people will choose that they don't want to marry. Some people will want to have open marriages. It's all about personal preference. We just have this little image out there that we keep reinforcing, and thus far, nobody's really living up to it too well. Because you think about the divorce rate, but think about how many people that stay married that are miserable.
Thank you for the call, Ryan. Melissa on the Tom Leykis Show for Michelle Langley. Hello.
Hi, how are you, Tom?
Great.
First-time caller, or, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah.
I'm 36, married, no children, and anybody that is thinking about it, either one, married or children, don't do it. Seriously, the older I get, I realize the more selfish I am. The traditional things that I want, I'm never going to get from my husband, ever. It's
what is it that you're
sad.
wanting from him?
You know, I want him to think about me 24/7, all day long. Give up your friends, give up everything you love, and hang on me all the time. You know, and that's like what we're brought up to believe is marriage should be, and it's never, ever going to be like that for anyone.
If men actually gave women the amount of time that they wanted, because I will tell you, a woman probably only needs about 6-7 hours of undivided attention a week. And if she gets that time, she's fine. But the problem is that men don't know exactly what they do want. So
men don't know anything, which is
the thing is that, keep in mind, I had a man tell me once, and he was a smart man. He said, I told him he was like a robot, like a computer, and he said, you know what, computers can be programmed. Tell me what you want, and I'll do it. So, you know, we just have to learn to be specific, and women don't want to do that because we think it sucks the joy out of the experience if we say, I want you to do this. But if you tell him exactly what you want, if the man wants to stay in the relationship, he will do it because a man aspires to make a woman happy. I have definitely come to find that.
I don't know if it's all that, or honestly, I think we get so tired of the nagging, the cajoling, the harassing, the constant talking that just never stops.
Well, don't you think that's because you feel as though you're failing? It's like nothing I do makes her happy.
But the fact is, I think we get to a point, the reason we get nagged so much is because we just shut off. We don't respond anymore.
I agree.
It's not because we aspire to make them happy. We try to a point. It hits an arc at some point, and then we just say, you know what?
Yeah, I can't do it.
I'm checking out now.
Exactly. But if women were specific in the beginning, you know, but women aren't taught to do that. They're taught to hide their desires to get the commitment from the male. Because that's what you want. You want the commitment, he wants the sex. So they hide all of these things that they want. Then they get married, they feel secure, and they start letting little bits of this out about how bored and miserable they are because none of their needs have been met.
Right, and these are needs that were created at some other time by other people, or in conjunction with other people like their mothers or their friends or their sisters or whoever. Because certainly we don't create those expectations as men, frankly. I think a lot of guys, when they get married, what they want is regular sex and to pop open a brew when they get home, watch TV.
Well, the thing is you're not gonna keep a woman that way, because you know that doesn't do much for us. You know, we want good sex. You know, not just regular sex. We want it to be good. We want it to be satisfying, and for us, 2 to 3 hours is what we need.
Well, that's probably why people shouldn't get married. It's because when we date, we put our best feet forward. You see the best side of us. You don't see our socks on the floor. You don't see.
Well, I agree with you with that, but I think the problem is that a lot of us have chosen to we opt for security blanket relationships as opposed to real relationships. And I really don't. I think we really diminish men by saying that they're so. You know, that they're, one, that they're dogs, but two, that they want so little. I think that a man would like to connect with a woman, except for, like you said, he gets to a point, he realizes he can't make the woman happy, so he says, you know, he just checks out. He's like, I can't do it, so I'm just going to sit here and watch TV.
That's exactly right. We just kind of recede from the relationship. More with our guest, Michelle Langley. Coming up, the book is Women's Infidelity. You can get the book by going to her website, women'sinfidelity.com.
So you...
The Tom Leykis Show. Wrapping it up here with Michelle Langley, her book, Women's Infidelity. Michelle, you paint a pretty bleak picture here.
Actually, I don't think there's anything bleak about it. I mean, you know, we've been hearing for years that men have a propensity to like variety, but that doesn't mean that men have to act on that. I mean, isn't that what we always hear? It's the same thing with women. But the problem is that I think that once we start educating women and they start becoming comfortable with their sexuality, that these things won't catch them off guard, because it's very difficult to be a woman and you get married in your 20s and you start heading into your sexual prime and you start, just like a male, you know, strange starts becoming something that you're interested in, you don't even know why.
All right, the book is Women's Infidelity. Go to the website, women'sinfidelity.com. That's women'sinfidelity.com.
It's the Tom Leykis Show.